Hey guys, how's it going? Remington here, and today I'm with you to take a look at the VFX for my Pokemon Going Insane VFX short. Now I'm going to be breaking down every single scene, so be sure to pay attention. I'm going to go over every single method I used, every single thing I thought about. Hopefully I'll include all the information. If I do forget to say something, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll answer any questions that you may have for me. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into the breakdown. In our first scene, we have Josh standing under a tree with a Rattata that's supposed to be above him and a Pidgeotto to the left of him on the road. Now this was kind of a last minute shot because we were just standing in a forest preserve and we were thinking, oh hey, that would actually be kind of cool just to throw this in as an extra VFX scene in here. So basically I didn't have anything prepared, I didn't have any trackers actually in any of this, but I just looked at the tree and I was like, hey, it'll probably track to this. So I told Josh just to stand next to the tree, look up at the tree, and then look over to his right. It was pretty much that simple. I tried to keep the camera movement as smooth as possible, that way the track came out as good as possible. And I also added in a bit of smoothing in the footage itself, so I cut out the really shaky part at the beginning, and then I went ahead and applied the warp stabilizer effect in After Effects to the footage to smooth it out as much as possible before actually tracking it. So I went ahead and took the footage. I used After Effects to actually do all the 3D tracking in this. If you haven't seen my video on how to export After Effects 3D tracks to Blender, go ahead and check that out. There will be a card in the upper right hand corner of the video that goes over more of the method. I'm not going to go into that though. But anyway, I exported the track into Blender, placed all the objects where they should be, and then I rigged them and animated them. I also parented them to empties just for more control over them. Now when I rendered this, I actually had to do it in two different passes. I had an object pass, which was the object itself, and then I also had a shadow pass. And the reason I did this is because of the way that Blender's compositing works. I wanted a transparent shadow, which you can't technically get unless you do two separate passes, unless somebody knows some magical method. If you do, please tell me. That would be a lifesaver. But I ended up having to do two rendering passes, one for the shadow and one for the actual object itself. So when I started off compositing, I obviously needed to import the Rattata footage and Pidgeot footage. I just overlaid it. I also added in the shadows later, and one thing you'll notice is if we go to the Rattata layer here, you can see I have just a little bit of color correction. This is what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like after with the color correction. And then once again with the Pidgeotto, you can see just how much color correction actually helps blend it in. And then I also strengthened the shadows because the shadows were a bit weak the way they came. So if you'll notice here, I'll zoom in here, and you can see I just doubled up the layers with the shadow just to make it blend in a bit better, because I believe the shadows would have been a little bit harsher, especially seeing Josh's shadow on the tree. And from there, all I did was a little bit of color correction, and we have our final scene. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the tennis scene. Now this is actually all of the original footage we had for the tennis scene. There is no other person playing tennis with Josh. It's just Josh hitting a tennis ball over the fence and then it flying backwards. Now in reality, I was standing on the other side. The camera just never pans over to me. So why did the camera pan in the video? Let's take a look at it. So I knew from the beginning of this shot that it was going to be nearly impossible to get a good track if I panned the camera. So what I decided to do is I decided to have a still framed video of Josh going, and then I took a panorama of the entire court. I stitched the two together into one very wide video. I think the resolutions were 3840 by 1080, and then what I did was I put the Machamp in just like I would have typically. I animated a fake tennis ball to go where the tennis ball was supposed to go, or where it looks like it would go. And then I went ahead and moved the camera basically by zooming in and creating a separate composition in After Effects. I created a virtual camera that I could then move around from part to part. That's why the video lost some resolution and this scene's kind of lower resolution, but in the end this actually came out as one of my favorite scenes just because of how the CG character interacts with Josh. I just think that's really awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final scene. So I'm not going to go into too much depth with these next two scenes because they're pretty much just the same thing as before. One thing that was kind of different in this scene was the amount of masking that I had to do, because there were a lot of Pokemon sitting behind things, whether it's the Snorlax in the distance, the Diglett between his legs, the Vaporeon, or the Magikarp that are sitting behind the fence. Either way, I had to mask them out, and that was a pain, but it came out pretty well in the end, so I'm fine with doing a little work if I get a good result. Now this scene was actually the last scene I did the VFX for, so they came out a little bit sloppy because I was kind of in a rush to get this video out, but I tried to do the best I possibly could. One thing you'll notice is with the Magikarp specifically, I had to actually render 3 different passes with these. I had to render the Magikarp themselves, the reflection, and the shadow, because you'll notice right here, there's actually a reflection on the water where they are. So I had to take that into accommodation. That way they would come out looking realistic and not looking like they're just sitting in the middle of water. And finally, we're on to our last VFX scene, which is the scene with the Pikachu, which was actually one of the easiest scenes. A little funny story here, this is actually in my backyard. Basically what we did is we had just taken apart our front porch and our swing set that we had in the backyard, and we have an old wheelbarrow, some old chairs. You can actually see the microphone sitting in plain view in the thing, but it blends in with all the trash so well that I didn't even feel like editing it out. So this was just kind of a little funny thing about the set. Anyway, this was probably the easiest one to do VFX wise because it's literally just putting a Pikachu in. There was no masking, there was no rapid camera movements, there was nothing that would really throw this scene off. The hardest part was color correction. So yeah, this scene's pretty much just like the rest, just a little bit different, I guess, in some way or another. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you have any questions about the VFX in this film, please go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I should be able to answer almost any question that you have about what I did in this. I'm not a VFX expert, I'm far from it, as you can tell by the obviously cartoonish Pikachu on your screen. So once again, I want to say thanks to everybody that helped out with this film, whether it was people off of the Blender subreddit that were giving me tips on VFX, or the VFX subreddit as well. I posted this there, and also all the people that actually helped out on the set was really awesome. And I want to thank you guys for watching as well. It's really awesome seeing how much support this video got. But anyway, if you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to click like, and if you want to be notified every time I upload a video, I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays, be sure to hit subscribe down below. That's about it for this video, so I'll see you guys later. Adios.